We were looking for a place that, I mean, it was a musical congregation, an inclusive congregation, and it was not a competitive congregation, which has already been said. If you've seen the movie Keeping Up with the Schwartzes, this is the opposite of that, and that's what we really, really liked.
I'll keep it very brief. In May of 2010, when my husband Stuart and I came here, we encountered the warmest, kindest, coolest, most genuine group of people. I had never been to a gathering of Jews where you could say all those words strung together. And and to this day you still can. And I also want to make the point that at BJC, the rabbi and the rebbitzin, they set the tone here. They set the tone. There is not a group of board members or a clique that sets the tone here. And it is, it's a wonderful, warm community.
First thing was the music, which I loved. I grew up in a conservative shul, and there wasn't any kind of fun music the way we have it here. Secondly was the rabbi. I was really impressed with Sonny, as I'm sure many of us were. The third thing is the interfaith efforts, which I know I'm repeating what a lot of people have said, but I thought it was just dynamite. I think that too many people put themselves in a box and only relate to people who are just like them. I have a number of Jewish friends who have only Jewish friends. And this has enabled me to make friends with people in the church and more recently in the mosque, and to really develop an interest in interfaith efforts to where that's become a real emphasis in my life.
And the person taking the tickets at the door for the chant circle was none other than Sonny. And he said hello, and I said hello, and I didn't know who he was. I was like, oh, he's nice. And didn't know he was the rabbi. Didn't bother adding that detail. It was a wonderful experience at Shefa Gold's Chant Circle. And then while I was here, I checked out the rest of what was going on at BJC and discovered all the music. And that is something that's very important to me.
Another thing that's persisted is the lack of materialism, which is very important. And the relationship to not only the church, but now we've reached out to a third faith, to the mosque, and the willingness to do that, so that the interfaith dialogues are important, but just the personal relationships that spring up now and were at the beginning are very important.
We don't have factions. We've never had factions. It's always been a place where if you want to do something, sure, go ahead and do it. And the liberal, welcoming atmosphere has reigned.
So Friday nights I tripped around the Beltway going from shul to shul, and there's quite a range and quite a spectrum. And this is the one where I felt at home.
Just how involved a lot of the parents were in the school. There were a lot of communal events where the whole school gathered on a regular basis, and parents chose to be a part of those activities, and it made, I think, a huge difference for the parents, because many of us were relearning how to be Jewish at the same time our kids were.
Jim and I rejoined in '90 for the same reasons as Kim, really, to find a warm and welcoming synagogue that wasn't pretentious.
When we came, I was particularly looking for a small congregation, and found BJC not only small but welcoming. I was looking for a place that would not have the structure of the conservative synagogue that we had belonged to for 2 years before that, but would have more room for me to become actively involved, because I had a background kind of leading services, and I like to do that, so that was important to me. I thought it was particularly good for us because it was a liberal congregation. The people were liberal. It was a non-materialistic congregation, even though some people had a fair amount of money, but those values were not important. There was no real politics in the board, and that was very valuable to me. And there were a number of interfaith families, and it was welcoming to that experience. So those were all very, very positive attributes.
What I wanted. Something where, because I didn't practice religion so much, but I wanted that tradition to connect to, but I wanted it liberal.
But what I remember from like the earliest bit was that this congregation has been really loose. Like I I know, but there have been a lot of congregations have really strict guidelines and stuff like that. But this congregation has always been kind of laid back, and it's just kind of fun to be here, less than it's just an obligation because I'm Jewish. So, but I think that it's not only just a place to pray, it's also a place to have fun and to connect with people and to be.
Belonging here has had a tremendous impact on our life. We were never, in all the time that Joel and I have known each other, we were never involved in a synagogue. And Judaism has become such an important part of our life, and that's because of BJC.